This woman is on a mission. She's not a Muslim, and her Muslim dress is a disguise. Her mission is for Muslims to know what is in the Quran, because she says if more Muslims knew what was in the Quran, more would leave Islam.
All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. This video is not an easy topic to address, but the more I have looked into this, the more that I'm convinced that I need to address it. It features a story of a woman who is raised as a Muslim, but then left Islam after reading the Quran herself. I'll pause just a few times to either add a little bit of context or to quote the Quran directly. Let's dive in.
Mona Walter came to Sweden from Somalia as a war refugee when she was 19. She says she was excited about joining a modern European nation with equal rights for women. But as a young Muslim woman, that was not the Sweden she encountered. In fact, she says it was in Sweden where she first experienced radical Islam on a daily basis.
I discovered Islam here in Sweden. In Somalia, you're just a Muslim. You're just born into Muslim country without knowing the Quran. But when you come to Sweden, then you go to mosque and there is a Quran, so you have to cover yourself, you have to be a good Muslim.
Walter says she grew up in Somalia never having read the Quran.
So I didn't understand what I was part of. I didn't know who Muhammad was. I didn't know who Allah was. So when I found out, I was upset, I was sad, and I was disappointed.
She says she discovered that Allah is a God who hates, and that Islam is not a religion of peace.
It's about hating and killing those who disagree with Islam. It's about conquering. Muhammad, he was immoral. He was a bloodthirsty man. He was a terrible man. And they can read that in his biography, what he did to Jews, how he raped women, how he killed people. I mean, he killed everyone who didn't agree with him.
Discouraged, she left Islam and became an atheist, until one day a family relative encouraged her to read the Bible. She still remembers the first time she read Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. Where Jesus said to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
It was very strange for me, love your enemy, because in Islam you have to kill your enemy. Kill your enemy and kill everyone who refuses Islam. But Jesus Christ, it was all about love and peace and forgiveness and tolerance. And for some reason I needed that.
She went to see Pastor Faoud Rasho, a Syrian immigrant who ministers to former Muslims in Sweden.
She started to believe, and she came to me. That was the beginning of her trusting.
I was so happy. I was filled with joy. Then I accepted Jesus Christ.
Mona says the Lord gave her a burden for Muslims who still do not know the truth about Islam, and she began to copy verses from the Quran and hand them out on the street to Muslim women.
Sometimes they listen, sometimes they become very upset, and I just told that, you know, that your husband, he have a right to beat you if you don't obey him. And say, no, it does not say that. Yes, it says that.
Okay, so the verse that she's talking about here says, this is Quran 4:34. It says this.
I thought that if I tell them about Muhammad and about Quran and this God of Islam who hates, who kills, who discriminates women, maybe they will have a choice and leave.
But in politically correct Sweden, Mona Walter has come under attack for simply telling Muslims what is in the Quran.
And I've been called Islamophobe, and yeah, you've been bought, you're a house nigger and stuff like that, terrible things.
She has also been called a racist. Walter warns that Islamic radicalism is a serious threat in Sweden and says Swedish society should care more about women trapped in Islam.
They will think like, oh, we're in Sweden, we have freedom of religion. But Muslim women don't have a freedom of religion. They live under the law of Allah, not under Swedish law. So they will suppose everyone have a freedom of religion. We don't have freedom of religion. It's not for Muslim women. It's for everyone else.
She lives under death threats and sometimes travels with police protection. She wanted to show us Muslim areas around Gothenburg, but had to first dress as a Muslim. She believes if she were to show her face, she would be attacked.
I never go to those areas just to be in me, just to be in flesh and blood, Mona. I never get out of there alive. I mean, Muslims are normally good people, like everyone else. But when they read Quran, then they become a killing machine. This so-called ISIS or Al-Shabaab or Boko Haram, they're not extremists. They're not fanatical, or they're just a good Muslim who follow the teachings of Islam. The Prophet Muhammad, he did that. They're doing just what he did.
Walter now uses videos and speaking appearances to spread her message. And she says she won't stop, even though her life is in danger.
Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them or beat them. But if they obey you once more, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. Now, a common response to this is that the word hit there or beat there really means to hit lightly. I actually had the chance when in the Middle East to ask this exact question to a Muslim imam, and he demonstrated the way he recommended that men punish their wives. Here's a small clip of that conversation.
How can I strike her? He say, you bring this, you know what we call this? Give me your hand. I slap you with this. Don't do these mistakes. Okay? This is the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Now you understand.
But I actually also came across a verse in Sahih Muslim Book 4 Hadith 21:27 where Aisha reported, quote, I have not seen any women suffering as much as believing women. Look, her skin is greener than her clothes. So here is Aisha, who, by the way, was 6 years old when Muhammad married her, 9 years old when he consummated that marriage with her, which we could have a whole other video just on that. But here's Aisha admitting that Muslim women are green with bruises. So all I'm saying is please look at this topic yourself. Don't take my word for it. This really is the tip of the iceberg. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we're living in a truly strange and bizarre time where religious pluralism is this veneer of acceptance and of love, but that veneer is actually causing us, it's causing people to supersede the rights of individuals and the rights of women with this idea of religious pluralism, which I think is a huge problem. So lastly, look at this graph from the UN Women, from UNICEF, showing the extent to which the mistreatment of women has been accepted even by women in Muslim countries around the world. So as you're looking at this graph, let me just say one more time that the aim of this video is not to insult or disrespect or disparage any Muslim people, any Muslim fellow human beings. This is not an attack on people. It's more so that as I come across information like this, I think that we have a responsibility to show that there are some very significant problems with some ideologies within Islam, that these things have a real world impact. So in other words, because we're called to love people, we have to expose things that are working against human rights and working against human flourishing. So I think that that's it for now for a video like this. Obviously, this is a heavy topic. I'm sure some people might be offended. So feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm genuinely just wanting to shed light on what seems to be a very problematic doctrine that is also being practiced within Islam in the real world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.